Everyone watching this has seen a bus before. Buses are an integral part of any city's transportation system and are extremely prevalent in Chicago. You're currently watching some footage from the number 9 bus on Ashland Avenue. One annoying problem you've certainly run into before is a late bus. On this Ashland route, this last month, almost 9% of the time, the interval between buses was twice that of what was scheduled. This meant that you might be waiting twice as long for a bus than you had expected and are subsequently going to be late to wherever you're trying to go. This is unacceptable performance, and overall transit unreliability presents an existential threat to the CTA as a whole as ridership struggles to recover in a post-pandemic environment. Restarting the Ashland Bus Rapid Transit expansion is an effective, cheap, and necessary expansion project that will dramatically decrease north-south travel time for CTA users and increase equitable access to transit. I'm going to talk about the background of the system, what the benefits of this system are, and why it's worth the cost to build it out. The Bus Rapid Transit system is a series of center median bus stops and bus-only lanes with traffic signal priority. The route would run between Irving Park in the north all the way down south until it terminates at 95th Street and Ashland Avenue. The system looks a lot like this. These bus-only lanes with signal priority mean that buses can skip traffic light queues and other general traffic. This means that the bus's trip time is dramatically lower, which makes the system's travel times closer to that of the L, turning a 96-minute bus ride into a 61-minute ride, according to studies conducted by the CTA back in 2013. The plan was eventually stopped during the public comment phase due to residents' concerns over losing on-street parking spots and some dedicated left turn lanes to normal traffic. So why should we go forward with this plan? The expansion plan is the most cost-effective method of adding much-needed capacity and reliability to the CTA network. The overall cost of the project is estimated to be around $116 million, and this is a fraction of the cost of expansions of the Chicago L system. But the Bus Rapid Transit system produces similar results with a comparable speed and comparable transit time to that of the L. Another benefit that is harder to quantify is the equity that comes with creating reliable and fast public transportation along this corridor. This bus route runs through an incredibly diverse area of the city, both economically and demographically. This is especially true as you approach the southern terminus of the route. As you can see from this census data scrolling by, the areas around the bus corridor are typically lower income or minority populations. Also, according to the U.S. Census Department, only 1 in 4 families living along the corridor own a car. Providing fast, reliable transit connections is an incredibly significant source of upwards economic mobility and is a key resource in growing the middle class in Chicago. Public transit is also increasingly important as climate change concerns worsen. Driving is one of the largest CO2 contributors due to its incredible inefficiency. Public transit has significantly fewer emissions per passenger mile. You can see this in this figure here. Buses are significantly better than single passenger cars. Buses, especially if they're close to full, are significantly more efficient than passenger cars. These values get even worse in the US since cars tend to be larger and less fuel efficient. Creating fast and reliable alternatives to driving is important in getting people out of these cars and into more sustainable options like buses. So if this is such an effective capital improvement, why hasn't it been done yet? The reason this plan was canceled back in the early 2010s was due to community pushback. A vocal minority of residents along the corridor were able to use what's called aldermanic privilege to halt the project's progress. The residents cited concerns over losing their on-street parking and left turn lanes, and they were able to get their aldermen to use what's called aldermanic privilege to halt the project. Aldermanic privilege allows aldermen to block city actions within their wards and is really hard to overturn. This allowed a small minority of vocal residents to stop the project and protect the interests of the few instead of the many. Times have changed though, and people in the city are starting to become more and more dissatisfied with the CTA due to its lower service and reliability. The city of Chicago has also reduced the strength of aldermanic privilege, which could result in success if we were trying to restart these efforts. Plus, many of the concerns of those residents were largely unfounded. The CTA study showed that they'd be able to keep around 90% of the on-street parking, and the added travel time from removing driving lanes and left turn lanes would be minimal and have a minimal effect on the system overall. The Ashland BRT system is a series of dedicated bus lanes and median bus stops that's an incredibly cheap and effective way to bring fast and reliable public transportation to the city of Chicago. The system will bring fast transportation at a fraction of the cost of other expansion options, all while helping underserved populations in the city. The CTA should continue to seek funding from the federal government and the state to go forward with building the Ashland Bus Rapid Transit system. Public transportation is one of the most important tools we have in creating an equitable and sustainable future, and the Ashland BRT project is a great first step in some much needed modernizations and improvements to the CTA as a whole.